Hey y'all, welcome back to my little homestead. I'm Sherilyn. This is Just Goodness 333 Little Homestead. For those of you who've been here before, hello. For those of you who are brand new, I hope you like this video. Stick around to the end. We're going to cover a few different topics today. And as a reminder, I don't do regularly scheduled content. So if you like this video at the end, if you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing, and by all means, everybody ring the notification bell. That way you'll be notified when I put up content if you want to follow along. Thank you. If you've been gardening for a long time, if you've been gardening for just a short time, one thing for sure, you're going to have challenges, you're going to have failures, and you're going to have some successes. And we're going to cover a lot of those today. First, I want to show you a failure. It was my first year growing garlic, and I followed all the rules, and I still ended up with a puny garlic harvest. So this is going to either take some trial and error or a lot of research, but I grew garlic nonetheless. Let's take a look at that. This right here is the whole of my garlic harvest. Teeny tiny puny little garlic, but they taste good, and I learned something. Okay, we're gonna go on a garden tour, and I'm gonna show you some stuff, and I've got a harvesting basket because there's a few things to harvest. Let's go. Okay, we've done some expanding out here. This is actually the septic drain field right here. And I know you're not supposed to garden on your septic drain field, so I came up with this option. Let's go take a look at this. I apologize for the lighting. I have such a small area back here in the backyard, and timing, and the sun's coming up, and so there's some things that are going to be in shadow and some things that are not, but we'll just get through this, okay? And I wanted to show you what I've done on the septic drain field. First, I laid down a 10 by 25 sheet of 4 mil plastic. I got this in a roll from Ace Hardware for about $16, and at Ace Hardware they had it in the painting section, so you might have to look around. These containers here are cattle mineral, I'm trying to avoid this sun, guys, cattle mineral buckets, and I got these from a rancher friend, a rancher family, and there's about 10 of them. And then I drilled holes in the bottom. I set them down right on top of the plastic, drilled holes in the bottom, and filled them with some small logs that I had from when I had a tree company come out and trim my big tree in the front yard. Filled about 4, small logs. It took up about a fifth of the space on the bottom. And then we just put in leaves, some little twigs and branches, some old compost, some new compost, and I'm really hoping for the best. I've planted several things in here, but let me show you what we've got going on. And as you can see, some of the plastic is still exposed. That's because we're having another challenge. I am not able to get wood chips right now. Nowhere I've checked is bringing me wood chips, and I have not been able to get hay. Hay has been my second choice. It's not as good as wood chips, but it's been my second choice for garden mulching, and we've had hay shortages in our area, so I'm kind of being resourceful. So when I said I was being resourceful, these are actually weeds. These are weeds that were growing in the lawn, and I just pushed myself around on my little wheelie stool thing and used a shovel and dug them up. These are the tomatoes that I grew from the suckers that I pruned off of my first round of tomatoes. And they're looking pretty good for the most part. We do have some issues though, but let's go look at these. Right now I just want to focus on the beauty. Let's go look at these. You'll notice when I get right here, there's a missing spot. And that's where we had some issues. Okay, so I came out one day and I noticed that the bottom set of leaves on this one plant that was here were completely yellow. I took a really good look, and it was just yellow. It wasn't yellow spots, brown spots. They weren't withered at that time. It was just like there was this beautiful green plant and one stem of leaves that were just this bright yellow. And I thought, oh no, something's going on. So I thought, well, if it's a disease, I'll just pull that off and we'll see if the plant recovers. And then I noticed a few days later, the other stems working their way from the bottom up were starting to do the same thing. So I did some research, and it said that the most likely culprit was a nutrient deficiency. And as I did some looking around, and that's what the general consensus was. So I went ahead and really fertilized this area. I fertilized it with a tomato and plant fertilizer, and then I also noticed that one of the tomatoes had a soft spot on the bottom. That's called blossom end rot, and that is a lack of calcium. So I poured some calcium, it's called Rot Stop, I think, and it's a liquid calcium supplement you can get just at garden centers, on Amazon. I think I got it on Amazon. And I tried that and nothing seemed to work. The plant just withered up. So when I pulled the plant, I found the real culprit. The real culprit was root knot nematodes. And when you have a plant that has root knot nematodes, I'll try to find an image and insert it here if I can. I'm not super technologically blessed. But root knot nematodes, they are little microscopic, harmful nematodes. There are beneficial nematodes and harmful nematodes. And they live in the soil, they live in poor soil, which would explain a lot because this area right here is a new garden area, so it's still basically a lot of the sandy stuff that I started with. That's another point I want to make to you is if you just, dig up your yard and you start your first garden and things don't go right, don't think you have a black thumb. The first rule in gardening is to grow your soil because your soil grows your plants. So we are doing this for the first time in this area right here, and I guess there was just a little patch of nematodes there. If you notice, the other plants are not struggling that way, so I think it was just this one little area here. So I've done some amending. I brought in some more compost, did some amending. I've been pretty good to put some liquid fish fertilizer. When we've done that in a past video where you just put like a tablespoon or two in a gallon of water and dissolve it and put it in there. That starts to feed your soil life and all the microorganisms in your soil. Another thing that I've done ties back into the wood chips and the hay shortage when we're dealing with some shortages here. My son left his leaf blower here, and it also has a vacuum attachment and a bag, so you can suck up leaves. And I had a whole bunch of leaves, and I spent several hours the other day just out in the yard, and there's still more to do, but sucking up the leaves, chopping them up, and putting them on the soil. Now, leaves are going to be a great amendment for your garden. It not only acts as a free mulch, but it's also going to break down. There's leaf molds and good bacteria on there that are going to feed the life of your soil. So if you have a lot of leaves around and you have access, or even like a lawnmower with a grass catcher on it, if you rake all the leaves in a bunch, you can run over it with a lawnmower and mulch it up and put that on your garden as mulch, and it will be fabulous. That's not bad. The cucumbers are doing well. I do need to come and pull those up and clip them onto that trellis. My onions are doing very well. Very well. The leeks, on the other hand, I had an issue. I just started leeks from seed, separated out the plants and planted them according to the spacing that was recommended. I didn't do a lot of research, and I realized that you're supposed to mound them up so that you'll blanch the white part of them. So my leeks, even though they're delicious and they're good, the white part of the leek, which is what most people love, is not as big or as long as it could have been. But I'll know next time. Here is another failure, and I don't know if it's on my part or on the soil. I don't know where to go to escape from all this light, guys. Either I'm in complete shadow or I'm in complete sun. But I wanted to say that I've seen other homesteaders talk over the last year or so about products, soil products, raised bed products, potting mix, things like that, that they've used for years with great results, not being the same since maybe since the pandemic or since the great rush to garden, and so many people are purchasing these items, there's such a high demand. It might be affecting their might be affecting the way that they make things. I don't know, but I know that I ordered Back Joe potting mix, which is supposed to be one of the best, and it turned to sand in this green stock. I'm very sad because I just ordered 2 more green stalks so that I could put them in areas of the garden that didn't get the full intense sun, as here in South Florida we're going into summer already in April and we'll be in summer until late October probably. I wanted to have areas that I could tuck things that were growing that they wouldn't be exposed to that intense heat all day. And I've made a huge investment purchasing 3 green stalks altogether, and I'm very disappointed in the soil that I got. I'm still doing some research. There is a recipe that you can make your own potting mix, and it's 1 part vermiculite, 1 part peat moss, and 1 part compost. And I'm looking for vermiculite now. I really want to get these green stalks outside. I want to take my strawberries out of the ground. I'm not going to grow strawberries in the ground anymore because we just had little bugs. You know, we pick this gorgeous, beautiful strawberry and flip it over, and half of them would have a little hole in them. And nobody wants to eat behind a bug. Nobody wants to eat a bug. That's gross. So if you're buying a certain product right now and it seems to be good, going in your container gardenings and your green stalks and your planters, drop me a comment below. This bed is in transition. Nothing but some weeds and a mess, so we're not going to look at that. Over here, we started some okra, and I think we have a little baby coming up. Oh my gosh! Can you see it right there? We have some baby okra coming up, and some grass and some weeds. But look, our first zinnias have come up. Aren't they beautiful? I love zinnias because I think they're like, a lot of them are like flowers within flowers. Isn't that gorgeous? We have a volunteer tomato that I'm going to let stay right there. Now we're over at the green bean tunnel, and I had a video on putting this up by myself, and I have some different other challenges here. I have resown this twice. The first time I sowed it, I came out a few days later and most of the beans were sitting on top of the ground. And the ground didn't look super disturbed. And I'm thinking that probably it was a critter, possibly a rat or something that was digging up the seeds. They like to eat seeds. And so I came back out and resowed, and look at this pattern. Okay, I have a few here, and there's one long stretch, and then, you know, and over here, this whole side has come up, but not right here. If that was just the problem with the seeds, I think that it would be more sporadic and it wouldn't look so uniform like a pattern. You know what I mean? Now this is the green beans from the video we did on a garden hack to save your back. We did also have some poor germination or seeds popping to the top, so I think we had a critter there. But you'll see that these are topping the trellis, the ones that we first planted, and pretty soon we'll have a whole wall of green beans and a whole tunnel of green beans, and we'll just be in the beans. Now here's a messy spot, but I did an experiment, and I don't know if it's going to work or not. We'll wait and see. I had the cherry tomatoes here, and when they were coming to the end of their life and getting a lot of disease, they were growing little shoots from the bottom. So I cut back the big tomato plants and left the little shoots from the bottom, and they're starting to come back up. But something I'm noticing is that the leaves are very small. This is something that can happen to your cherry tomatoes when temperatures get warmer. They can start, even if it's not just a little root shoot, if it's a plant that you planted, and when the temperatures get warmer and we're in full sun all day back here, then the plants can start to look a little dwarfed. So we're just going to let it go and see. We've got one fruit at the bottom and some flowers. We're just going to experiment. And you can see that our beefsteak tomatoes we planted in mid-March, or toward the end of March, somewhere around in there. You can see they're actually doing pretty good. This is the little experimental potato patch where we experimented with the root stout method of planting potatoes. And I'm noticing that one of these plants is dying back, so I think I'm going to look in here and let's harvest what's in there. I'm going to bring you guys along. Let's see how many potatoes we got. Well, now there's the seed potato right here. There's the seed potato. Some of these have been eaten. Looks like we've got some new potatoes on here. I like new potatoes. These don't seem to be as big as the ones we looked at before. Oh, there's red ants. And again, we've got some critter damage here. Can you see that? Well, y'all, that was a bit anticlimactic. I have to admit, I was hoping for some bigger potatoes, but let's see what we got. We got a lot of like new potatoes, and these could possibly have stayed in the ground longer because the plants hadn't completely died back. But this is mid-April. We're starting to get some really warm days. So I'm not confident that they would have stayed a lot longer in the ground with all my vast potato growing knowledge. And yes, that was sarcasm. We have quite a bit of critter damage, and I am suspecting that I'll show you that in a second. I'm suspecting that was the ant, and there were bugs in there, little bugs. I'm going to take every one of these tiny little potatoes, and we're going to use them like little new potatoes. You know, you pay a good penny for those in the grocery store. They actually cost more than the big potatoes. So So this is my potato harvest, but I'm not really disappointed because this was from, I think, 4 sprouted potatoes that I had bought at the farmer's market a while back. And in December they were chitted, which means the eyes have started sprouting. And so I just threw down some cardboard, some hay, a shovel full of compost, and put these down and then covered them with more hay. Now that's a good several meals for us. And I'm kind of glad we took them out today because I didn't want to see any more pest damage. I keep thinking I'm going to wrap this video up and I see other things. This is a volunteer red Malabar spinach. This thing is really good. Nice, and has a little bit of mucilage in the leaves, which is kind of that stuff that's in okra. You know, some people call it slimy. It's not slimy. It's really good, especially sauteed. It's good in salads, and it's really pretty. And this will take over a trellis if you put it on there. It's just really, really, really pretty. This is a volunteer. I'm very glad to have it. Here is another volunteer of our Lagos spinach. And I have planted some of that out in the container garden.